Welcome to Support Life, a program focusing on current social issues from a life-affirming perspective. I'm Gavin Baulch and my guest is my grandson, Thomas Baulch. Welcome, Thomas.
G'day, Gavin. How you going?
We've got some history.
A little bit. All of my history.
All of your history, which is 20 years?
Yes, almost 21 in September.
Okay. Well, I suppose you're expecting a big gift from me at that stage?
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Let's look at where things are at the moment. You're a student.
Yes, I'm studying at La Trobe. I'm doing biomedicine at the moment in my third year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you've got a friend there doing it with you.
My girlfriend is studying dietetics at La Trobe as well.
Okay. So you not only have a pleasant environment, but someone to do some homework with.
Yeah, she makes me study.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, she does.
All right. She's Italian background?
Italian, half Australian.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's your background?
We don't really know, do we, Grandpa?
No, we don't. We're just Aussie for 3 or 4 generations or more. Okay. You're here for a particular purpose because you may not have been here. You're going on 21, but there was a point in your life where, how old was your mother when you were born?
My mum was 15 when I was conceived and 16 when I was born.
Okay. So any young woman in an unexpected pregnancy situation can make some choices today, can't she?
Any choice she likes.
Mm-hmm. What choice did she make?
She chose to, keep me.
Indeed, and what a joy that is. I thought I'd have you along today so that those who are viewing the show can see what happens when a child is saved, what the potential is, this life. How did you enjoy your childhood?
I was a happy child, I guess. It was difficult, like I'm not going to lie, difficult with young parents and inexperienced parents, I guess, with life. And all parents are scared and inexperienced when they have kids, but it's a bit different when your mum's 16. I don't remember much until she was, in her early 20s.
Okay, and how many brothers and sisters do you have now?
I have 1 brother and 2 sisters.
And one of those sisters is special for good reasons.
Some would argue that both are special.
Yes.
But my older sister, or younger sister, but older than the other one, who is 16, is a foster care child.
Okay. And so what we were talking to you about is that in life, things that start off not well can end up wonderfully good, positive and so forth. Okay. So you've been a brother to Nina?
For 8 years.
Okay.
Half her life.
All right. Now, how have some of these challenges impacted you as far as direction, what you might want to be, where your compassion and interest lies?
Well, it's opened up a whole nother world to me, really. A whole nother world to a lot of us in our family, as you know, and our friends. And it's kind of a scary world, one that a lot of people don't understand or don't really know about, and it's a lot to do with kids in need, children that are poor in both financial status and love, really. Children who just lack parenting, parents who are struggling themselves with drugs, alcohol, bankruptcy, and that kind of, the abuse kind of funnels down to the children, unfortunately.
Yes. And
so, from there, I guess my heart's been softened in that area, and helping people is something that I've become accustomed to and wouldn't want to live without.
Okay, now you've been, this isn't the first time you've been in front of some cameras.
No, there's been a few times, yes.
Okay, tell us about those moments and why they happened.
Well, the first ever time was because my uncle had started doing film as a older teen, young 20s, early 20s. But probably the most significant time was in front of a company called Mannheim, who fund through the auction of donated cars. They fund a program called Kids Undercover, who provide bungalows for families and children who don't have the space in their home. So it allows the foster child or someone else to have that bedroom, and opens up bedrooms for the other kids as well.
Okay, so why were you being interviewed?
I was being interviewed to promote to promote Mannheim, and just give a perspective from people who are experiencing it, and the positive outcome that it has on them.
Mm-hmm. So you actually live in one of these outdoor self-contained bungalows?
Yeah, I do. Yes, I do.
Great. And have you done some more in front of camera work?
I've done it a few times for them. I did one for Kids Undercover themselves, and gave perspective and insight on my younger sister's situation, and was able to shed some light onto her life and the way and the progression from a very troubled little 8-year-old to a strong, independent 16-year-old.
Awesome.
You can do what she wants, apparently.
Yeah. Well, that's an awesome journey. And here you are, just about 21, and everything's had a positive impact on your life. What would you say to others who may be looking at difficult circumstances? Maybe they're as young as you or younger than you. Does good come out of not good?
It depends what you do with the not good, sorry. If you choose to embrace it as a fact of life and choose to pursue the goodness and possible well-being outcomes of the bad, then anything's possible. If you're a young mother and you choose to allow your child to come into the world, then that child can do anything that he or she likes. And infinite possibilities.
On that note, you're watching Support Life, and we'll be back after the break. Welcome back to Support Life. I'm Gavin Baulch, and my guest is my grandson, Thomas Baulch. Thomas, here we are again.
Hello, Gavin. How are we going?
Good. We were just talking about others' space, where they were at and how it's impacted you, and different organisations. Now we're going to talk about inner space, and then we'll go to outer space. All right? Okay, so let's come back to some inner space. Thomas, you chose the course at the university for what reasons? What were you thinking of at the time?
Well, we had to choose when I was about 17. So it wasn't particularly easy to pick a specific course, but I had known for a long time that what I wanted to do had to be involved with helping someone in some way. I had lots of thoughts about police force, paramedics, all those kind of things, and kind of settled on science and biomedicine in particular, and the medical field of healing.
Okay. Now, was there a very narrow specific that you had considered but have had to rethink, maybe?
Something I'm considering at the moment is studying prosthetics, a master in prosthetics. It kind of grabbed me, I guess, in a way, just because of its ability to help those who either are born unfortunate or that are fighting in other countries to protect us, and are unfortunate in that way. Accidents happen. I think, physically, people anyone who's disadvantaged, or physically, needs to be helped.
I spent some time in Rwanda, and in a very small, poor village where children were coming in, having stepped on a landmine or something, and there was a whole team of people making prosthetics out of anything, leftover bits of wood, tin, of course using plaster and so forth, but they didn't have access to what we have, but children were walking again.
And that's the sad thing about it, is that anyone is affected by this kind of things, like any disease. I think sometimes it's overlooked.
Okay, now how easy is it to get into the field of prosthetics here?
The one in Melbourne is the only masters in Australia, in the Southern Hemisphere actually. But the only opportunity for work is in New South Wales in Australia, or to travel abroad.
Okay, is there a reason why it's limited in Australia?
I don't actually know. I'm currently researching and trying to get my head around the possibility of it. Contacting friends in the, at the university to try and find a place or look somewhere else.
Okay. Well, we hope you don't have to leave the country or go interstate. Maybe someone listening has a brilliant idea about prosthetics and you're the man.
That would be awesome.
It'll be good. All right, let's come back to other influences in your life. You want to help. You've talked about your sister that's gone through, is it adoption now as well?
Legally, no, but she's been my sister for 8 years, so it doesn't really bother us.
Okay, well, she's adopted in your heart, which is very important. So she's had an impact and formed how you see the world?
Yeah, definitely. Just a big eye-opener to the broader aspects of the world you kind of sheltered as a kid, and it's just, a big eye-opener to everything that goes on. Kind of scary, but it's important. Okay.
Now, what's your hobbies? You got one?
I play basketball a lot, actually.
How's that going?
Yeah, good. Play a few nights a week. Really enjoying it. Keeping me fit and active, and with a few mates, a few good friends. So
are you winning?
Yeah, we are now. We weren't last season, but we've been doing really well this season. So.
What's changed between last season and this season?
Well, they put us up into A grade, and that didn't work out so well for us. So we went back down to B.
That's right. It's nice to be in a B class occasionally.
It is. Yeah, it is.
That's right. You can't always be on a mountaintop experience all your life.
We're definitely a better team for it. So.
Okay. Well, we're talking about your inner space. Is there? Do you think outside of yourself, is it just you, yourself, and I, or is there a world that's bigger than that and maybe has a God in it?
There's an infinite world that has a God in it, I think. I don't know how to explain it, really. It's just something that you feel, something that you know, something I was brought up with that's defined me and my family and the way I look at the world, and has really changed the way I want to live.
So life is a high value.
Yes, very high.
Okay, so if you see someone else in a bad situation, bad upbringing, something's gone wrong, how do you speak into their lives when you have an opportunity to use words?
I think kindness is the best way to reflect on your beliefs, especially in God and in Jesus. I think just kindness to others simply opens that door, especially kindness, unwarranted kindness. Someone who's struggling and you barely know them, or even if you do, can just be a wonderful thing.
Okay, so do you think sometimes we underestimate true compassion, or we misread what true compassion is?
Yeah, I think we do. I think underestimate is a good word. I think we're so focused on doing these big and brilliant things that we overlook simple things like being kind to one another.
So kindness, patience, self-control towards others, long-suffering maybe, important attributes of the human condition. Do you think we're just born with those things?
I think it's something that we can be taught by others, by the gospel, life experience. Many different things can really humble us and open our eyes to what's needed to be done.
Well, on that note about eyes being open, we'll take a break. You're watching Support Life, and we will be back after the break. Welcome back to Support Life. I'm Gavin Baulch, and with me now is my grandson, Thomas Baulch. Thomas, we've had a look at others' lives, your inner life, or inner space, and now we're going to touch on outer space for a moment. So they found Pluto, and it really did look like the Death Star.
It did, with the big dark spot in it, yeah.
I thought that was a really light-hearted moment.
It was very funny.
When they found the moon, it looked very similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did.
You have another member of the family who's crazy about things in outer space?
Yes, my uncle is very fanatic about space and telescopes and the outer. Yeah.
Spent much time looking through his telescope?
We have sometimes. It's difficult in the city with all the lights, but sometimes we can get a good glimpse of the moon or an eclipse here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And did you have an experience once that would have eclipsed anything that Christopher's experienced?
I have actually. Well, you were there. You would know. But for everyone else watching, we went to NASA to see a space launch, which unfortunately was cancelled. But we still had a good time out there, didn't we?
We did. So would you like to just share some of the things that you sort of saw and maybe not many other 14-year-olds at the time would have ever seen?
Well, we got a tour of the Space Centre, very invasive tour and very thorough tour of the Space Centre. We had shuttles a few metres above our heads, and we were taken out to the launch site, closer than any civilian has ever been, besides from the President himself. So that was very, very exciting.
Even to the point where we had shuttle tiles to put on the shuttle, right?
Yeah, we did have shuttle tiles to put on the shuttle. Gave him a bit of a hand. Some very impressive people, impressive equipment there.
Yeah. And for someone you were just 14 at the time.
I was just in awe. Some of it I don't remember. Some of it's still kind of like a shock kind of thing, but I remember enough to know that it was amazing.
In fact, you were standing next to the creepy crawler, as they call it.
Mm-hmm. The massive tank that takes the shuttles to the launch site. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool. So
that was a kind of eye-opener. Did that challenge you about space? Did it have you look outside of yourself just because you went there and saw what man had done?
I guess at 14, not really. But the achievements of man in all areas, especially science, does boggle the mind. Space has never been really my area of expertise, but it is definitely huge and very overwhelming.
So here we are, spending billions in looking for life outside of ourselves and the planet. Yet we treat human life not well, particularly the unborn or the elderly, perhaps.
Yeah, I think again that we just seem to overlook the small things in life and always looking for bigger and better things, but forget about the little people and the little differences that we can make that turn into massive differences. Well,
at one point in your life, you were one of those what might have been regarded as a mistake, and now humanity is better off because you've spent nearly 21 years on this earth.
Thank you very much.
That's okay. And just taking these other experiences that life has given you because someone chose to give you breath, you're handing something back, aren't you? And trying to. Okay. I think just the willingness and wanting to hand back life to help to speak on behalf of those who are vulnerable and weak is important.
Yeah, definitely.
What would you say to other young adults watching at the moment? Is there something that you'd like to say to them to encourage them to keep on the path they're on?
Well, I guess just to take a perspective on life and not to overlook the small things. Kindness can be such a massive difference in everyone's life. To look for help if you need it, and not to give up. To keep trying. To look for always look for the positives in all situations, even if it's very small. In my short lifetime, I found that looking for the positives in any situation can be such a massive help. Yeah.
And mentors, what form have they taken?
I've got a few. You're one of them. My parents are definitely massive influences in my life, as well as Jesus. I just find that, it's just what can you say when your mentors are mentors? They're just someone you look up to and someone who gives you just great love and support. Yeah.
I often admire your mother, where she began with you, just a young teenager. Some of her achievements in caring for others are really quite immense, aren't they?
They are. It's very difficult. Like, not going to lie, difficult having me at such a young age, and we discuss it all the time. And then choosing to foster my sister as well, and it just shows great strength and courage from both her and my father.
And her influence and input into other young mothers has been really wonderful, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. She does meetings at foster events, and she's talked to a lot of teens that we've come in contact who have been struggling with this issue. So, yeah.
So, is fostering hard to get into? What's your experience as someone who's observed parents taking on this sort of challenge?
It's an easy process. It's quite difficult, but to actually to do. But once your heart's set on something like this, then the child's well-being overtakes, and just the positive outcomes that are so obvious, even after a short period of time of fostering, is really amazing. Just the massive effect that you can have on these kids' lives just by bringing them into a loving home is incredible.
One of the surprised outcomes for you would have been a self-contained bungalow.
Yeah, that was a bit of a bonus, wasn't it? A bit of hard work paid off.
And I think too, what comes around goes around. So as you commit to the care and looking out for someone out there who hasn't had it as well as you or needs encouragement, giving it, it does come back in nice ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does, whether it's, actual property or materialistic things, but yeah, mainly enlightening things.
Thank you, Thomas, very much for this interview. You have been watching Support Life. That's all for our program today. Join us again next week. Goodbye.